Are you ready for Sunday school, kids?
Hello. It's great to be with you again today. I have a question for you. Do you have any idea what this is? Can you see it? That's right, it's a ring, but it's a very special ring. It's a wedding ring. And almost 23 years ago, when Pat and I were married, we exchanged wedding rings, and they were a symbol of the promises we made to each other. To be faithful to each other, to be with each other in sickness and health, for better or for worse, richer or poorer, no matter what life would throw to us, we would be together. And you know, promises are a really important thing. Have you ever made promises? Have you maybe promised, Mom, I promise, if you let me just play this one more video game, then I'll go to bed? Or, Dad, I promise, I'll clean my room as soon as I've finished playing outside for a little bit longer. Have you ever had anybody break promises to you? That kind of hurts, doesn't it? Well, you know, God makes promises. He's made lots of promises to us. And the awesome thing about God is He always, always keeps His promises. He never, ever fails. And I want to talk today about one promise that God made. You may remember the story of Noah. Remember Noah? He was the guy who God came to and said, Noah, I know you live out in the middle of the country, but I'd like you to build a great big boat, an ark. Well, Noah probably wondered what this was all about. Didn't make any sense, but if God asked him to do it, he was going to do it. People all around probably thought he was completely out of his mind, you know. But God said, Noah, I'm going to send a huge flood. The people on this earth are so wicked now, there's nothing I can do about them. And so I'm going to send a big flood, I'm going to destroy everything. But I want to save you and your family and your servants because you are a godly person, you are a good person. So Noah did what he was told. He built this great big ark, and then God said, and I want you to bring 2 of every animal with you. So Noah and his family went and they rounded up 2 of every single animal, and they all went onto the ark. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, the water started, the rain started, and the whole earth was flooded. But Noah and his family and all of the animals were safe. And eventually, when the rain stopped and the water started to evaporate, the waters receded until finally the ark was on dry land again. And when Noah and his family got out, do you know what God had sent for them? A rainbow. And the rainbow is God's sign of His promise that He would never, ever flood the earth like that again. And I love the rainbow because it reminds me not only of that promise, but when I look at a rainbow up in the sky, it reminds me of all of God's promises, especially the promise of Jesus. God promised that He would send a Messiah, and especially now as we're going into Lent, to remember that God promised He would send a Messiah, and He did. So can we just say a little prayer? Dear God, thank you for your promises. Thank you that you are always faithful. You always keep your promises. Please help me to keep the promises that I make to the people around me. Amen. Okay, hello, here we are down in God's garden, and we're going to make rainbow mobiles today. So the first one that we're going to make is a slightly easier one. You'll need 6 strips of colored paper in rainbow colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. You'll need some white paper that you can cut into the shape of a cloud. You'll need a little piece of yellow paper, scissors and glue, some glitter, a pencil, something to make a round shape. This tape is the perfect size, but you could use a glass or whatever you wanted to use as a template to make a circle. And then we need lots of cotton balls. It would also be a really good idea to print off the printout that Marilee sent out from God's Garden with the various promises that God makes to us and we make to God, because that's what we're talking about today, isn't it? God's promises. So, when we have all of these assembled, the first thing we're going to do is on each of these strips, write a promise that you have for God. So, for example, on Marilee's sheet of paper, there are things like, be kind to kids even if I don't like them, make my bed, listen to mom and dad, share my toys, give to others in need, and I'm sure there are others that you could think of. So you write your promises on your pieces of paper. Then you take your cloud cutout and you paste, you use your glue and you glue cotton balls onto here. Now don't just take them and plunk them on like that. Break them up so they're nice and fluffy. And then glue them onto one side of your cloud. Then turn your cloud over, and this is going to be the sun. So you use your template, whatever it is, and make your circle. And then cut out your circle. And you're going to write on it, God, I promise to, because then all your promises are going to be on here. So we have that cut out, you see? God, I promise to, and you can put glitter on if you would like, it'd be really pretty. And then you're going to take this and you're going to glue it onto your cloud so that it's peeking up. You can see the God I promise to. You do all your gluing here on the side that you have not put the cotton balls yet. So once you've got all of your promises written, then and I have to make sure I do this in the right order, don't I? You kids would know for sure if I did it wrong. So glue all of your pieces of paper on here in order. Like that. 2 more to go. Whoops. Okay, so now you have God I promise to, and all your promises here, and then you glue your cotton balls on the back as well, because it's going to be immobile, so you can see the front and the back. And if you want, you could put your promises on both sides of the paper as well, of your little strips here. So you put cotton, and so you put cotton all the way along the whole back as well. And then you have a string and a little clip of some sort, and you hang it like that, and you've got your mobile. Isn't that pretty? And then it reminds you of the promises that you've made to God. Okay, so we'll move this one off, and we'll bring the next one over. So here's another craft. Maybe for kids that are just a little bit older and maybe find it a little easier to do something a bit harder. So you're going to start off, and you need, again, your strips of paper. So you need your 6 strips of paper. Okay, and you will need something to hang this with. Either a hanger or a knitting needle would work, some sort of a dowel. Here we've got a bit of a curtain rod that you can use, so whatever works that you can use as a hanger. And for this one, you're going to include the promises that God has made. And again, they're on your paper that you can print off from the things that Marilee sent out. So some of God's promises, for example, he promised that he'd prepare a place in heaven for us. That's from John 14, verse 2. He promised he'll answer our prayers if we ask in his name. He promised he'll always be with us. He promised he'd send his son into the world. He promised Abraham that his family would be a great nation. And from today, he promised Noah that he would never flood the earth again. So you write, as we've done here, your promises, the promises of God, on each of your strips of paper. And then, this is where it gets complicated, you take a stapler and you staple them together at one end, and then you have to see if I can even do this quickly. You want to make a rainbow. All right, can you see what I'm doing? So you take each one and move it up a bit so that it makes a rainbow like that, and then you staple it so that it stays there, and then you cut the ends off like that. And there's your rainbow with all of God's promises. And then you want to take a piece of thread and just take a piece of tape, tape it on the top like this, and then your rainbow will hang, and you can put a rainbow on this end, and you put a rainbow on the other end at different heights, and then you've got this beautiful mobile that reminds you of the promises that God has made to us. Oops, didn't tie that. Okay, so you have your rainbow promises from God, and you have your rainbow promise to God. Okay, have fun. I think this is a really cool craft to make, so I hope you will thoroughly enjoy it. And now we're going to sing a song. Okay, our song this morning is a beautiful song about God's promises and how we can believe in God and we can be confident that His promises are always true. So, let's do this together. Faith is just believing what God says He will do. No matter what the circumstance, His promises are true. So when your life is hard and you're not sure what to do, it's best to take God at His word. His promises are true. Faith is just believing what God says He will do. He will never fail us. His promises are true. If we just believe in Him, His children we become. Faith is just believing this wondrous thing He's done. Faith is just believing what God said He would do. He will always love me and He will love you too. So if you're ever feeling sad, you'll know just what to do. Use your faith and pray to God and He'll look after you.